Hey there. Today we're going to learn about multiplication properties and division rules. And properties is really just kind of a fancy word for rules as well. So we're going to learn a couple rules of multiplication and a couple rules for division. The first rule that we're going to talk about is called the commutative property of multiplication. And basically what that says is that when you're multiplying numbers, and you come up with an answer, if you change the order of the factors, it does not change the product or the answer to a multiplication problem. So in other words, I could say that 4 times 2 equals 8, but that's the same as saying that 2 times 4 equals 8. So you can see that the order of the factors does not affect the actual answer. I could say that 3 times 5 is equal to 15. And again, if I changed the numbers and moved them in my problem, I could also say that 5 times 3 is equal to 15. This is called the commutative property of multiplication. And one way that I kind of try and remember it is that the commutative kind of sounds like commutative. And all I'm doing is moving the numbers or changing the order of the numbers to get the same answer. So changing the numbers or changing the factors does not affect the product. Another property of multiplication is known as the identity property of multiplication. And the identity property of multiplication simply says that when any number is multiplied by 1, the product of that number is equal to that number. So 4 times 1 is equal to 4. Any number times 1 would be equal to that number. 7 times 1 would be equal to 7. 5,372,891 times 1 would be equal to 5,372,891. It does not matter, it does not change. Anything multiplied by 1 stays the same, or it keeps its identity. So the identity of 4 is 4, and when I multiply it by 1, it still keeps its identity. That would be the identity property of multiplication. We also have the zero property of multiplication. And the zero property, similar to the identity property, it says that any number multiplied by 0, the product is 0. So 3 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 7,329,586 times 0 is 0. So any number times 0 is 0, and that is the zero property of multiplication. We also have a few rules of division that we're going to learn about, and there's 2 in particular. They both deal with 0, or one deals with zeros and one deals with ones. So the rule for zeros in division is that when you divide 0 by any number, you end up with 0. And really, if you think about it, if I have nothing and I'm trying to divide that by any number, I'm still going to have nothing. I haven't changed what I have. So 0 divided by 2 would be 0. 0 divided by any number is going to be 0. And then similarly, the rule for ones in division states that any number divided by 1 is that number. So 7 divided by 1 would be 7. 5 divided by 1 would be 5. 38,516,712 divided by 1 would be equal to 38,516,712. So any number divided by 1 will be the same number, and that's called the ones in division rule.